Yes, the daily Brandon Aiyuk update as we continue to see what is going to happen with Brandon Aiyuk. Is he going to the Pittsburgh Steelers or is he actually going to remain with the San Francisco 49ers? Because honestly, just a couple days ago, it felt widely believed that Aiyuk was out of here. He wasn't going to be a member of the San Francisco 49ers under any circumstances because from all the reports that we heard from credible sources was that the 49ers were looking at every possible outcome to trade Brandon Aiyuk away. But it appears there has been a shift, and a sizable shift, and a situation that could turn out to be the best situation for everyone involved outside of Steelers fans. So, all that stuff being considered, you have Adam Schefter going on the Pat McAfee show to present some updates. And to be honest, this is a very interesting update that if you are a 49er fan and you are focused on winning, that I think you will like what he has to say. Of course, as always, we will react to it on the other side.
Over the weekend, the reports about Aiyuk were that now it seems likely, or at least they're working on a deal for him to stay in San Francisco. Is that what you're hearing? And then also, the Niners had to cancel joint practices with the Saints this weekend. How bad are they injured if they're already kind of being like, yeah, we don't have enough guys to field two teams?
Well, they're shorthanded at a few different spots, and so they don't want to risk anybody else going into a joints practice, so they canceled that. I understand that. The Aiyuk thing, look, this saga, and it's been a saga, has had more twists and turns over the last few months than any story that I've seen in a long time in the offseason. And this has been at a point where at one point it looked like, okay, he might get traded to Cleveland. And then it looked like, oh boy, he might get traded to New England. And then it looked like he might get traded to Pittsburgh. And now it looks like, you know what? The 49ers sit down, the two sides talk it out. And now, and we'll see where it goes, now it looks like the focus and emphasis is on keeping him in San Francisco and not trading him. But I would say that this has had many twists and turns to it. And until there's final resolution, you don't know. But the 49ers want to keep him. They don't want to trade him. They've never wanted to trade him. They've wanted to get a deal worked out with him. The deal has been elusive. The player was the one who requested the trade. The player was the one who tweeted at Mike Tomlin. The player was the one who went on with Jaden Daniels and talked about going to the command. The 49ers were not interested in doing those sorts of things. They were interested in getting a deal done because they wanted to keep the player. But when the deal became difficult to get done, when he kept demanding a trade, when other options surfaced like that, everybody's got to do what they have to do to look into it. And so they did. And nothing has worked out so far. And now they're at a point where they'd like to try to figure it out. That would be their goal, to keep him there in San Francisco, which I think really has been a goal all along, despite the fact that in a relationship, there are ups and downs with everything. And so they're trying to see if they can get this deal worked out now. And if they can, obviously, he'll be staying. And he won't be going to Cleveland or New England or Pittsburgh or any of the teams that have had conversations with the 49ers. But that would be the team's preference right now, to keep him and to get that deal worked out. And that's what they're trying to do. And we'll see if they can get it done.
Charlie.
So obviously Adam Schefter goes through the kind of tumultuous twists and turns of this entire situation. I also love the fact that Adam Schefter also agrees that this has been one of the crazier offseason stories we have ever seen. And obviously, he's in the middle of all of these news breaking situations. So the fact that this guy is saying that, yeah, this is one of the crazier things that I've ever been a part of in the offseason, says a lot. It says a lot for what this Brandon Aiyuk situation has turned into. But just like as he was talking about, it almost felt like a foregone conclusion that Brandon Aiyuk was going to get traded. But obviously the deals with the Cleveland Browns and the Patriots fell through. And right now you're in a bit of a staring match between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the San Francisco 49ers. It was reported earlier today that the 49ers have been asking from the Steelers for Minka Fitzpatrick, Pat Freiermuth, or George Pickens, along with a second or third round draft pick to combine a pick and a player for Brandon Aiyuk. So obviously the Steelers don't feel comfortable with the compensation that the 49ers are asking for, and that has been the hangup of why this hasn't gone through, because Brandon Aiyuk, according to reports and from himself, who commented and basically said, all these reports, it's two options. It's either I'm going to the Steelers or you're re-signing me. That's it. And he, remember what he said? He said basically stop putting out reports. And so with that situation, you can see that we kind of hit a standstill with the potential trade situation. And since we hit that standstill, this now new momentum is coming from the San Francisco 49ers. And you heard from Adam Schefter. He basically said, like, this is now headed towards the San Francisco 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk potentially getting a deal done. So nothing is done yet. And just like Adam says, you can't say anything is close to being done until it's done, because I think that has been part of the problem with some of the reporting that we've gotten is people are hearing things that are trending in the right direction. They report as if it's finalized, but that's why this reporting game is very delicate balance. You can hear a lot of things, and those things can be very accurate. In fact, they could be 100% accurate. But until you have finalized details of a situation, it becomes challenging to put those details out, because we all know things change in a hurry in this league. And I believe that's really what has happened. At one point, did it look like Brandon Aiyuk was going to the Steelers? Probably. And that's probably why tons of Steelers content creators jumped all over it. And maybe there was a chance where Brandon Aiyuk did agree to contract terms with the Steelers. So that is again another indication that this is going down, but it's not finalized. You have to have the information finalized before you put it out there. Otherwise, there's a good chance you are going to get burned. And that is kind of the intricacies of this insider game. That's all. We can do a whole nother video on that. But the point of the matter is that it does sound like the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk are back at the negotiation tables. Honestly, guys, you guys know I'm a huge Brandon Aiyuk fan. Friend of the channel, obviously. And it did feel like he was going to be out of here. And I can't tell you that the shift in optimism that I personally have, that we actually might see a deal get done and Brandon Aiyuk remains a 49er, because that was just not the case a couple days ago. And I'm happy about that. And now you're hearing guys like Adam Schefter basically being like, man, when we thought all these other situations are going to play out, it now looks like the 49ers want to get a deal done. They're motivated to get this thing figured out. They're motivated to move forward. And so with all that being said, is through all these twists and turns, we might end up back where we originally started, with Brandon Aiyuk signing a long-term contract to play for the 49ers. I think it's very important to note that under zero circumstances can you expect Brandon Aiyuk to play on the fifth-year option. That's just not a reasonable outcome. It's just not a reasonable situation. That's why Brandon Aiyuk hasn't been traded. People aren't going to trade for a potential Hassan Reddick situation. You have to sign Brandon Aiyuk to a contract in order for him to play for you. That's just how it works. So moving forward, it does feel like we have moved closer to that. Now we are just kind of in the wait and see period if that actually is finalized, if they are actually able to agree on terms and Brandon Aiyuk stays, because from the sounds of it, sounds like there's not really many options out there for Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers to execute a trade. So the only option left, which you need, is to keep Brandon Aiyuk on a long-term contract. So I feel much better about the situation than I have in a long, long time. But you guys let me know how you feel about this. What do you think of what he had to say? And do you think Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers are going to agree to a long-term contract extension that will keep him here for the next couple years? Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.